Hello everyone! Sorry you didn't see me in my monkey suit. I figured before we start this show, a disclaimer is in order before we begin. Never before on this show have I needed to cover an artist that has a song that has more than 2.1 billion views on YouTube. So I figured this video is going to get outside of my normal target audience. So for all the Tones and I fans who are currently tuning in, let me explain everything you are about to see before you kill me. So what you just clicked on is a video that's in a series of videos called The Worst Album Ever Made, a show where I'm on a quest to find out what is the worst album ever made. And in September, I spun a wheel filled with viewer suggestions, and I landed on Arthur's suggestion for Tones and I's Welcome to the Madhouse. After I landed on that, I had to listen to the album at least 15 times and then determine if it truly is the worst album ever made. That's the show. That's the show. If you are a Tones and I fan, look at this face. Do you want to see this face gab at you for like an hour about an album that you like? Now, I'm not going to tell you if my review is going to be positive or negative. That's what this whole video is here for. But what I am going to tell you, when I spun this wheel in September and landed on Arthur's suggestion, I couldn't back out of this. But you can. You can exit out this video, no one will blame you. But if you want to stay and hear what I have to say, whether it be good or bad, I appreciate that decision, and I hope you enjoy your time here today. I'll let you decide right now what you want to do. Okay, good. We're still here. Oh, excellent. Thank you for hearing me out. I really appreciate it. And I hope after leaving today you have a little more appreciation for some art that you really like. And now that you're here, we can go ahead and get started. Okay, so sit back and relax, everyone. The review will now start in 3, 2, 1... Welcome to the Madhouse is the topic of today's video. And man, is it divisive. Chances are, if you're an internet music critic, you probably despise this album right here. But if you're one of her fans or one of the people who bought this CD on Amazon, you probably think it's pretty good. The only negative review I saw there was one woman who returned it because she found out Tones cursed on it. So if we take all that information into account, we might have the makings of a very love it or leave it kind of album, and those are the ones I find really exciting. Originally, when Welcome to the Madhouse released, it received very mixed reviews, like 4 out of 5 from AllMusic, or 3 out of 5 from The Guardian. Nothing really Wayne-worthy for the show. But all of that changed with YouTuber Anthony Fantano, where on his channel The Needle Drop, he decided to give this album right here the abysmal score of 0 out of 10. After the Needle Drop review, a huge negative amount of press swarmed this album right here, and currently on Album of the Year, this album has a critic score of 45%, but an awful user score of 6%. And all of this for an album that people outside of the internet actually like. I went to go eat Korean barbecue last month, and 2 songs from this album played over the loudspeakers. That just doesn't happen on this show. Nowhere are you going to go and have a nice meal out on the town and be delighted by the sounds of Mrs. Miller and Back Fat. That doesn't happen. Somebody must like this thing. Now, I'm not saying that this album is automatically good because it is popular. What I am saying, though, is it's not automatically bad because Anthony Fantano is popular. I've watched his review. I understand where he's coming from, and he makes some very good, compelling arguments against this album. but I've also watched other video reviews, and they don't really make any good arguments. Instead, I feel like what they do is they just look for something to mock, and Anthony Fantano has given them an avenue to do so. But I am not going to do that. I have listened to this album 15 times, and I am going to give you my findings on whether this is the worst thing I ever heard in my life or not. And I'm going to do it with an open mind, and we're going to see if Tones can convince me that this album is actually good. But before I can tell you, it's time to ask the question. Who is Tones and I? Tones and I, real name Tony Watson, is a basketball fanatic who grew up in Mount Murtha, Victoria, Australia. Tones discovered her love of music at the age of 7 during a family trip at a local park, where her auntie encouraged her to try to pursue music after hearing her sing for the first time. In high school, she learned how to play the keyboard, and with the money she got from a retail job, bought an RC300 and continued to experiment with her sound. In 2018, she got her official busking license, bought a van, and took 2 weeks off of work of a retail job to try busking out for the first time in Byron Bay. On her first night out while playing Outkast's Hey Ya, she was approached by a music lawyer named Jackson Walkden Brown, who wanted to be her manager. And under Jackson's direction, he put her through a strict schedule of writing music Monday through Friday and busking on the weekends. This schedule would go on for 8 months, and the whole point of this schedule was to grow her fan base enough to release her first single, Johnny Runaway, which was a sizable hit in Australia. Her follow-up single would be about her experience as a busker, and this is the song that launched her into superstardom, that being Dance Monkey. Tones was preparing to release her first debut album after Dance Monkey's success, but unfortunately tragedy would strike this release, not just from the global pandemic of COVID-19, but also from the death of someone Tones considers a brother, that being Ben, aka King T, who passed away mid through production. T's death greatly impacted the sound of this record. Tones and I revealed in an interview with Grammy.com about half of these songs were written before Dance Monkey's success, and others were written after T's death. This clash of different tones, themes, and times when these songs were written makes the whole listening experience a noticeable mixed bag, as you will see later in this review. Tones says she has many influences that inspire her music. She has listed the works of Tyler the Creator, Lorde, Chance the Rapper, and Macklemore fueling her creative process. And Macklemore in particular, she has stated as her all-time favorite musician. And she even had a chance to be featured on a Macklemore song, and that being 2022's Chant. Okay, now that we know a little bit about who Tones and I is, it's now time to talk about the biggest elephant in the room. This cover sucks. So my opinion is that cover art is extremely important, and a terrible cover can ruin a pretty good record. And when you are listening to this album, you have to stare at this thing the whole time. It's very hard to separate the music from the cover art, so it really needs to deliver. Now, I am not an artist. I could not draw this, but I still have eyes, and I can see that this does not really work in the album's favor. It looks cluttered and it looks busy, and it's kind of confusing. To me, it looks like this cover is very inspired by the works of Tim Jacobus, specifically from his Goosebumps line of covers, and it's trying to replicate his style, but not really understanding what makes his look so good. Jacobus's art is clear and front and center, and his use of Dutch angles and lighting choices bring out such a spooky atmosphere. This cover understands that things are spooky, but doesn't understand why things are spooky. I mean, there's a freaking Shining reference here. It doesn't really add anything. This album would be so much more effective if it just showed the mansion and Tones at the gate, but they went overboard and it failed. So yes, I would say the album art was kind of a flop in my opinion. If I was going to rank it, I'd give it a bone chillers on the Goosebumps scale. Alright, I think I complained long enough about the cover. Maybe I should start talking about the music on my funny little music internet show. And let's go ahead and get started with the very first song off the album, of course, Welcome to the Madhouse.
Welcome to a place where you can play, a place where you can bring your friends, but you all have to stay. Welcome, we will meet you at the door. You must tell us all your secrets before you can explore.
Wow, this song has such a spooky atmosphere. It seems like every single second of this song was put together to be played exclusively in the month of October. Wow, it'd be a shame if this music review happened to come out after Halloween. On a different note, everybody, happy Election Day! On the time of recording this, I don't know who's going to be our next president. But you will. Yeah, I had a delay. My cat needed surgery. That's not a joke. That's why this is delayed. My cat needed surgery. So the song is filled with a wide assortment of scary, spooky sound effects that try to match the vibe of the cover and the title. But unfortunately, it just comes off as cheesy. There's one particular moment, and towards the back end of the song, where the whole song just kind of stops to give you a sample of some woman screaming from some stock library, and it was very off-putting to me. And it basically just reminded me of some back catalog Roku horror. And the lyrics are trying to be scary, but overall it's no scarier than a Five Nights at Freddy's birthday party. Which is so odd as someone who says she's inspired by Tyler the Creator. I mean, she should know Bastard and Goblin. Albums that can establish real fear upon its listener with just how evil Tyler can get on it. In comparison, there's no bite here, to the point where you can be confused easily that this is children's media, which it is not. Overall, I don't think it works. I think it's a bad first impression on top of the original bad first impression, which was the cover. But I will say, over time, I've warmed up to this track, because Tones and I singing is so unique and almost robotic here. With all the wacky sound effects and the way she's singing everything, it is truly unique. Like, nothing else sounds like this. And if she decided to stick with this, like, style for the entire album, we could have had something really special here. It's such a shame that we do not get this throughout the whole thing, because it could have been like a revolutionary piece of music that no one would understand until like 20 years from now. Welcome to the place where you can play. Next song is called Lonely. Oh, I swear to God, the opening of Lonely is like an endurance test. Every time I play this album, I struggle so hard to not hit that skip button. For me, it just feels like I'm about to hear someone whine and complain about some breakup they had for 3 minutes and 43 seconds, and that's just really unappealing to me. But after doing some research about what was going on mid-production, this does have a little bit more weight to it, as I'm assuming that this has something to do with processing grief. I can sympathize with that. I know how that feels. But my problem with this song is she's not really telling us anything. They don't understand a single word that I am saying. All they wanna do is put me on some medication. Actually, this song could have nothing to do with tea. I'm just assuming. If I'm just going by the lyrics themselves, the only thing I really have to go on is Tones is sad, Tones is lonely, and Tones refused medication for her depression. For this song, she just scrubs down all the details until the whole song becomes this generic sounding blur. And I'm not saying that she needs to share every single bit of her personal life with me. I don't know her. But there seems to be something missing in this song, and for me, I think it's authenticity. Why am I so damn lonely? Am I But a lot of people aren't like me, and a lot of people have found that this song is quite relatable to them. Maybe that's why Tones decided to scrub down all these intimate details, because it makes it more relatable to a wider audience. But personally, I think I would rather listen to a song that talked about your day-to-day struggle with depression rather than some kind of overarching theme of loneliness. The next song is called Won't Sleep. The spooky atmosphere returns, everybody. It's back. I'm so glad it's November. When you begin Won't Sleep, you're going to be greeted by a very awful, tinny, awkward drum beat. which doesn't sound that great in my opinion. And it's made me realize something. Tones and I just doesn't know how to start songs off well. Like, when she gets it started and it's going, it's very sort of serviceable. It gets the job done. It's just starting that's the problem. It's like she got her music advice from my dad's old push mower. But unlike Dad's push mower, I think that Tones and I could have a very successful career as a children's musician. Now, some people could scoff at this, but really, this is prime DCOM music. If I was a kid and I went and listened to this at the end of Halloween Town 2, my little head would be on the freaking ground. My head would be, my mind would have been blown. Listen, there is no shame making music for a younger audience. And I think Tones could do a good job at it. One of my favorite bands, They Might Be Giants, has been making albums since 1982. Do you know which one of their albums won the Grammy? Their kids' album. In this song, it sounds like Tones is trying to be scary in her performance, and the music video seems to reflect that. But there's nothing scary here. If anything, it's just a regular party song. And if it's not that, it's a regular party song inspired by the Halloween section of Walmart. There's just nothing to really write home about. Next song is called West Side Lobby. I have very mixed feelings with West Side Lobby. I like the sound of it. I think it sounds fun. I think it's a great sounding single. But my problem with it is I'm left with a lot of mixed messages. In the song, she says, "I'm so sick of people thinking that I'm special." And then, in that same song, she said my song went #1 in 30 fucking countries. She's saying, do not give me special treatment, and are angry at people who give her special treatment that she also asked for. Also on the song, Tones is trying to establish her edge. She's trying to be not a nice person, but I think Tones has the edge of a banana. There's nothing here. She gives us one example, and that example is someone when she was a child, used to know her, and that person, now that she's famous, tried to talk to her and be like, "Hey, Tones, it's me and you. Wow, fancy seeing each other. Let's hang out." And she said, "Sorry, I don't really know you that well." Tones, I'm sorry, but that is very normal behavior to me, and not bad in the slightest. You even told them sorry.
People saying that they know me. We met once when I was 4. Oh, I'm sorry, but I don't know you at all.
But what I say is my favorite moment in this song is when Tones opens up just a little bit about how she was treated when she started getting famous. When Tones and I first started her music career, she was noticeably overweight, and there's nothing wrong about that. Last time I checked, talent was not locked behind a scale. As an overweight music critic myself, I've also received negative comments about my weight online. Now imagine for a sec if I was a woman. Then imagine if I wrote a #1 song in 30 fucking countries. Just imagine how many people are sending you negative comments about your weight. Probably every single hour for months on end without stop. I am really glad that Tones decided to address this issue somewhere on this album, because it is a very unique aspect of her career that I think a lot of people can relate to. But my only problem is it's only gatekept to one specific song and only for a couple of lines. Next song is Fly Away.
I had a dream that someday I would just fly away.
Fly Away is one of the main singles off this album, and I can see why. It's a very strong song. It's also a song I found out plays over the loudspeaker at my day job, which is awesome. In Fantano's infamous review of this album, he compared Fly Away to a pharmaceutical commercial, and I agree with him. I do think it sounds just like one, and the music video doesn't really help it either, because the music video looks like it was originally filmed as a pharmaceutical commercial. It is generic to a fault, and it looks like a parody. But the more I listened to Fly Away, the more off it felt. It actually felt artificial. And I really didn't know why. And every time I listened to it, it just seemed more off. I really don't know why it seemed off until I read that Tones and I interview with Grammy.com, and I actually ended up getting my answer. Tones says, and I quote, "When I wrote Fly Away, the lyrics were so genuinely honest to how I was feeling. It could be quite sad, but I wanted to have a moment in the song that felt really happy and very up and about. It made you feel good. But if you want to listen to it properly, you can listen to the slower version where I took that production out. It can show you that there's a really sad side to the song. It became my very good friend's funeral song when he passed away." So this song is about tea, and the song that has all this airplay to Tones is not the proper version of the song. The real version of the song is buried on Tones and I's YouTube channel, nowhere near touching the album, nowhere near touching the deluxe version of this album, which I will not be reviewing because this video is going to be long enough as it is. So I went and listened to the proper version of this song, and it's slower, it's obviously sadder, but you know what it also sounds? More human. It sounds way more genuine.
I've been on my own for a minute. Is it only me out here? Searching for the place to begin it. Is it me? Is it you? Is it me?
And I like it a lot more. And it's not like this dance beat thing that Tones has going on, but it's open and it's honest. And I think that is better. So the question is, why is it not on the album? I really hope that Tones and I's managers did not force her to make Fly Away into a dance song, because that would be very heartbreaking if that was the case. I hope Tones made that decision. Fly Away is a very serviceable song. I just wish the original got more love. I guess that's all I'm trying to say. Next song is called Sad Songs. Once again, everyone, Tones and I has showcased she does not know how to make an intro that will appeal to a chubby white guy with glasses. How can she sleep at night?
I'm so sick of hearing old sad songs, 'cause it makes me think of you. And I'm so sick of knowing that you're gone, but the sad songs help me through.
In a way, this song can be seen as like a sister song to Lonely. Just like in Lonely, we don't know if the song is about tea, dealing with grief, or just about some boy that didn't really work out. But I will say, out of the two, Sad Songs or Lonely, Lonely is better in this regard.
Now I don't wanna turn the radio on, but I feel better when I hear a sad song.
And the reason for that is Lonely doesn't just repeat the first verse for the second. This song really could have used the variety. I mean, there is the addition of the Tones and I choir about like halfway through the song, and that does break up the monotony a little bit, but not enough to give it a second glance. Next song is Just a Mess. Here we go. Now this is an intro I actually like. There is far more complexity with this song than shown to all of the other ones so far on the album. And that might be why Tones and I said to Apple Music this is her favorite song she's ever recorded up to that point. So yes, big win for the intro, big win on the first verse. If only the chorus didn't show up. And it's awful. It's so bad. It started so good. The transition from the verse to the chorus was as smooth as a car transitions into a brick wall. It's tragic. Absolutely tragic. So much of this song is just rinse and repeat. I'm okay with people repeating lyrics, but 80% of this song is repeated lyrics. And like, it's pre-chorus and chorus on repeat, And I'm like, you can do so much better here. You can throw in some extra lines and some verses. You can switch it up now and again. I know you can, Tones. I know you have that ability. But hey, I could be wrong. According to Spotify, this is the 4th most popular song off of the album, with 17 million views. I don't think all of them are listening because they have a music review show. People actually like this song, so there has to be some merit here. I just fail to see it. It's a me thing. It's a me thing. That's it. Next song is Child's Play. Child's Play is what I consider the lowest point on this album. And if we're using her Spotify as like a window into how her fans think, this is her 2nd worst performing song off the album. Now, the story of this song is that there was a friend that Tones had, and after Tones became famous, this friend would keep trying to take and only seemed to want to hang out with Tones when she wanted something from her. And that made Tones feel upset, betrayed, and angry, and she decided to write a song about that. Now, I think that is a good jumping off point for a song. The limitless potential in songwriting ideas. So I don't know why she decided to start singing Ring Around the Rosie. The entire aesthetic of this song is spooky child, and the background sounds like a remix of a creepy crib mobile. Why? Why are you doing this? If somebody wronged me enough where I feel like I need to make a song and vent to everyone about this, never would I go with a spooky baby route. Because if I did that, I would look silly and juvenile. And that's exactly how Tones comes off. My theory is that her managers looked at her track list and said, listen, Tones, we already bought the album art. Go back in that studio and make a spooky baby song, please. Thank you. Have a good day. And she did it. And she did it. Not a great song. And I guess I'll just leave it at that. Next song is Not Going Home. Okay, now we are getting somewhere. This is light years better than Child's Play.
I'm not going home. I'm not going home.
Unlike a lot of other songs, we have a very definite timeline when this one was written. This song was written in Tones and I's van before Dance Monkey was made. This song is a very defiant statement, and it really sheds a light on the mindset Tones was going at the time. And she is saying, I don't care, I'm leaving everything behind, this is going to work. I refuse to go back home as a failure.
I'd rather walk this lonely road than turn around and go back home.
Nothing is guaranteed, and she got very, very lucky that she met someone to manage her on day one. Overall, I think this is one of the better songs off of the album, but it does have its flaws, mostly in the chorus. I really don't mess with that bass. It sounds very Casio keyboard-like, and it doesn't really fit with the rest of the instrumental, and it sticks out like a sore thumb. Next song is called Dark Waters.
I get lost sometimes, but if you ask, I'll say I'm doing just fine. Some those days, some those days, some bad days are fine.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are improving with each and every song, and that is awesome. The further we get away from Child's Play, the happier Garrett will be. This song is also a nice breath of fresh air because Tones is being very open and honest to her audience about her anxiety and the pressure that she has recently felt with her newfound popularity. This song was actually written right after Dance Monkey got big. So she started feeling that pressure almost right away. When it comes to performance alone, I think Tones comes off as more mature and more experienced than anywhere else on the album. And the instrumental is more complex. It's more subtle in the verses and has a fuller, more rich sound on the chorus, but not too much to ruin what it's going for. The only place where I think this one fails is the bridge. Now, Tones' performance is fine, it's just the instrumental. Like, everything goes away, and then it feels like the whole track is replaced with stock music. And that really took the wind out of my sails. I was so disappointed, because I want there to be just one song that I have just no problem with. And we were almost there. We were almost at that finish line, but that bridge was just enough to be like, not quite, not quite. I almost had no notes, but if someone was like, hey, I'm a big Tones and I fan, what is some of your favorite Tones and I songs? I would be like, well, Dark Waters is one of them. Next song is Cloudy Day. Cloudy Day is another song about dealing with grief, but with a more positive spin to it. So the story of this song is Tones was experiencing a lot of writer's block after the death of her friend, and she went to go visit another one of her friends who gave her this advice that she received from her mother. When everything is sad and you're very depressed, just remember to look up to the clouds and see the sun on the cloudy day. The sun is still there. It's still shining. And if you look hard enough, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There's a silver lining to everything. And Tones was so inspired by that message, she decided she was going to make that the basis of her song, and that's what got her out of her writer's block. And I bet Tones is happy she wrote it, because when it comes to Korean barbecue standards, this is playing over some loudspeakers. I can see why people like it. It's funky, happy, and it's easy to sing. It's very catchy, as it's like the same line over and over and over and over and over again. If you hear it once, you could probably sing it just verbatim after that. The instrumental is perfectly fine for the whole song, but these verses are just like the weakest part of the whole thing, and it really drags down the intro. Once again, the intro is the worst part of a Tones and I song, because she's introducing the song with these lyrics. Am I living? Oh, what a funny thing to say. But there's a life and then there's living. Am I living for today? Come on, Tones. This is high school theater kid lyrics. You are above this. As a former high school theater kid myself who wrote songs like these, you can do better. Next song is You Don't Know My Name. Tones did it. This one does it for me. This is my favorite song. This is what I would recommend. If you're going to listen to anything here, You Don't Know My Name is the best thing you're going to see. So, You Don't Know My Name is a song written about someone in Tones' life who did not encourage Tones' music career and thought she was being idiotic, leaving her hometown to pursue this dream. You know, I don't know why this person would know Tones, because they did know her personally. Originally, I actually thought this song was about her critics, like myself. I didn't know the freak Tones was before this review. The only Tones I knew had the word deaf in front of it. I think the song sounds great. It gives me a little bit of a spooky aesthetic without going all Spirit Halloween on me. No offense, Nick Lutsko. It's good. It's a very good song. I really vibe with it. The instrumental could be stronger, but I'm going to push that to the side and just say, Tones did a very good job here. I hope she likes it. It's my favorite. Song 13 is Fall Apart. Fall Apart, I think, is a good closer to the album. It's not the closer, but we'll get to that in a second. Even still, there are some confusing choices that I still need to bring up, and that is the squeak. In this song, there's a noticeable squeak in the background that's very hard to ignore on your second listen. And it's been theorized, mostly by Fantano, that this squeak is a mistake, and the squeak is from a kick drum pedal, and the error was left in all the way up to the final production. I don't believe that. I personally think the squeak is intentional, and I don't know why someone would decide to put it in there, because it's very distracting, but I think the squeak is actually part of the backing track that they put in deliberately because they thought it sounded good. If it is an error, that would be crazy. And I don't think that's the case. I don't want to think that's the case. It is one of Tones' stronger songs, and that's another reason why I think it should have been the closer. There's a couple weird lyrics in there, but overall, it ends it on a melancholic, happy note. The last song is called Bars, Rip T. Oh yeah.
I got bars, fucking cars, airplanes, deep massage, bars, fire, tell your girl I won't retire.
Bars, Rip T, as I said, is the final song off of the album. And without context, it seems like a very big mistake, because it's an awful song.
Here I am, flying down the street like Superman, and I won't do it, but my best friend can. I won't do it, but my best friend can.
The song features Tones and I rapping, very braggadociously, about how much money she has, how good she is at singing, just a bunch of brags going left and right, and all of it is so tonally different from everything we have heard thus far. And I have no idea if she's being serious or not. The song comes out of left field and almost completely undoes all the good that the back half of the album had. And when you get that final message, it seems even more jarring to the listener.
We miss you so much. We love you too.
And when I heard it for the first time, I was so shocked. And I wanted to write it off as the worst thing I've heard off the album, and I thought it was probably the worst closer to any album I have ever heard. But thankfully, I got some context here, which does almost save it. This song is a birthday present to T. That is wild to me. This is a personalized song for him that was never supposed to be released. We're not supposed to hear this. This is an inside joke between two best friends, and we are listening to it. That's awesome. I have been complaining on this review that Tones is not being personal enough with us. She's not opening up enough. And this whole time, she ended this whole album with something that she probably knew was bad and cringy and awful. But she decided to do it anyway because to her, that was the best way to end it. Her friendship with T is this song. It's wild to me that she did that. And I think that is one of the coolest things about this album, is figuring that out. I was blown away. I have a massive amount of respect for Tones finishing her album the way she did. Grief can make people do wacky and crazy things, like releasing the song to the public. For me, I'm drinking a Steel Reserve. And for those who don't know, it has the flavor profile of watered down piss and vinegar. I hate this drink. I hate Steel Reserve. But why am I drinking it? It was my brother's favorite drink for some reason. He had awful taste in alcohol. But that is the reason why I wanted to drink it. It makes me feel closer to him. And if Tones feels closer to T for releasing this song for everybody to hear, that's awesome. And cheers to you, Tones. What a wildly stupid, cheesy song, and I thank God it exists. Smooth. Alright, we are finally here, everybody. It's time to decide if Tones and I's Welcome to the Madhouse belongs on the board of shame. Oh boy. It has been quite a while since I've had an album I dislike as much as Tones and I's Welcome to the Madhouse. So I've done the unthinkable, and I had to re-listen to Waffle House Jukebox Favorites Volume 1 and compared it with Madhouse, and I'm here to say that Waffle House was way worse than this one. One of the things that keeps this from being on the board of shame also, outside of the fact that I've reviewed things clearly worse than it, is everything was working against this album. With everything we talked about today, it's amazing I am holding this album in my hands. That is commendable. The fact that she lost one of her loved ones, she's gone through so much, and still I was able to hold this, I was able to listen to it, I was able to review it, and even if I thought it was bad, that is a feat in itself. You can conquer grief. You can do it. And to prove how Tones has bounced back from it, she did not let the negative criticism keep her down. She made another album, and it is way better than what I'm holding here. That is kick-ass. Anyway, that has been this episode of Worst Album Ever Made, everybody. It is currently 7 o'clock on election night, and so I'm going to see who's going to be our new president. I did vote. I did vote today. I hope my candidate wins. I wrote it in Ringo Starr. Who did you vote for? I hope Ringo Starr. I think Ringo Starr should be president because he made that song Rack My Brain, and that song makes me shimmy. Rack my brain. Rack my brain. Rack my brain till I go insane. Come on, rack my brain. Anyway, do your due diligence by hitting the subscribe button. Spoilers, we're not done yet. Because it's time to spin the wheel of lame. Spin the wheel, make the deal. Spin the wheel, make the deal. We'll see what we gotta review next time on our wacky music show. 3, 2, 1. Lil Xan. Total Xanarchy. Awesome. I just want McGruff the crime dog so bad. Why won't you let me have what I want?